Some of these fruits look like they got left in a lab too long. No CGI, no filters. Today you're getting 8 of them, ranked from strange to, wait, that's allowed to exist? And the last one barely counts as food. Quick thing, hit subscribe if you haven't, then let's get into it. Buddha's hand. First up is a fruit that looks like it's reaching out to grab you. It's called Buddha's hand. Instead of forming a normal round citrus shape, it splits into long yellow fingers spreading out from a single stem. Some curl tight, like a fist. Others splay wide open, like the fruit's waving at you. Here's the strange part. There's no pulp inside, no juice, no segments, nothing you'd normally associate with citrus. Just zest, all the way through. That's it. Buddha's hand comes from East Asia, and people have grown it there for over 1,000 years, mostly not for eating. It shows up on Buddhist altars as an offering, and its shape is supposed to look like the fingers of Buddha himself, folded in a gesture of blessing. These days, cooks zest it into desserts, and its oil gets pressed into perfume. You basically never eat it plain because there's nothing there to eat. Now, if a citrus fruit growing fingers feels weird, wait until you see one that looks like it's covered in fur. Rambutan. Rambutan is bright red, roughly the size of a golf ball, and covered head to toe in soft spines that make it look like it wants to defend itself. Except it doesn't. Those spines are soft. You can grab a rambutan barehanded and nothing happens, which throws people off every time because visually it reads as something that should hurt. The name actually gives it away. Rambutan comes from the Malay word for hair. It grows mostly across Southeast Asia, especially Malaysia and Indonesia, sold by the bunch at roadside stands. To eat one, you just tear the skin with your thumbnail and peel it back like a little jacket. Inside is a translucent white flesh that's sweet, a little tart, and textured almost exactly like lychee, because the two are actually related. One thing worth knowing, that lychee connection runs deeper. Rambutan is part of the same family as longan too, and the tree itself is built to last. A single rambutan tree can keep producing fruit for over 60 years, so that's fur on the outside. Next up is armor. Salak, snake fruit. Salak looks less like a fruit and more like something you'd find shed on a forest floor. The skin is brown, scaled, and overlapping in a pattern that's basically identical to snake skin, which is exactly why people call it snake fruit. It doesn't look botanical at all. It looks reptilian. It grows in Indonesia in clusters at the base of a short, extremely spiny palm tree, which honestly makes harvesting it sound like a bad idea. To eat one, you peel the scaled skin off with your fingers, the same way you'd peel a hard-boiled egg, and inside, you'll find 2 or 3 lobes packed together. Here's where it gets confusing. The outside promises something wet and dangerous, and the inside delivers the opposite. The flesh is dry, crisp, almost like biting into an apple, with a flavor that lands somewhere between apple and pineapple. Nothing about the texture matches what the skin told you to expect. And if you thought scales were a strange defense mechanism, the next fruit trades scales for actual spikes. Horned melon, kiwano. The horned melon looks like something that swam up from the ocean floor instead of something that grew in a field. The skin is bright orange, almost neon, and covered in short, blunt spikes. Cut it open and the inside is jelly green, packed with seeds suspended in a slimy pulp that looks more like frog eggs than fruit. It's native to Africa, though these days it gets grown commercially in New Zealand and parts of the US, mostly because it photographs well and people buy it out of curiosity. To eat it, you slice it in half and scoop the pulp out with a spoon. The flavor is a strange mix of cucumber, banana, and lime, which sounds like it shouldn't work, and somehow does. Funny enough, a lot of people who buy horned melon never actually eat it. It gets used as a table decoration or a photo prop, and sits there for weeks before anyone realizes it's edible at all. Now, horned melon just looks weird. This next one can actually hurt you if you eat it at the wrong time. Ackee. Ackee looks like it's built to explode. When it's ripe, the red pod splits open on its own, no cutting required, cracking apart to show off shiny black seeds sitting on pale yellow flesh. It's less like a fruit ripening and more like watching something pop open in slow motion. That self-splitting isn't just for show. Ackee actually has to open on its own before it's safe to eat. Pick it early and force it open. and the unripe flesh carries a toxin serious enough to make people sick, which is why some countries tightly control ackee imports and others ban it outright. Originally from West Africa, ackee made its way to Jamaica centuries ago and became so tied to the culture there that it's now the national fruit. Once it opens naturally, only the yellow arils get eaten, usually scrambled with saltfish in what's considered Jamaica's national dish. So that's a fruit that opens itself. The next one doesn't grow anywhere you'd expect a fruit to grow at all. Jabuticaba. Most fruit grows on branches, hanging off stems, reachable if you stretch a little. Jabuticaba skips all of that. This dark purple fruit grows directly on the trunk of the tree, clustered right against the bark, like the tree itself broke out in grapes. It's native to Brazil, where indigenous communities cultivated it long before it spread to wider use, and the fruit itself tastes close to a grape, sweet with a slightly thicker skin. People eat it fresh, straight off the trunk, or turn it into jelly, wine, and liqueur. Here's the catch. Jabuticaba doesn't last. Once it's picked, it starts fermenting almost immediately, so you've got a few days at most before it turns. That's part of why you rarely see it outside Brazil. It just doesn't travel. We've covered a fruit that grows in the wrong place. Coming up is one whose whole reputation is built on smell alone, and it's about to get a lot weirder from here. Durian. Durian doesn't ease you into anything. This is a massive spiked fruit, sometimes the size of a football, covered in hard, pointed thorns that make it look built for defense rather than dinner. Drop one on your foot, and you'll understand why some people call it a weapon before they call it food. It grows across Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, where it's treated less like an exotic curiosity and more like a serious seasonal event. People line up for good durian the way other places line up for good produce at its peak. Cut past the spikes carefully, and inside, you'll find custard-like flesh in pale yellow pockets, eaten fresh or folded into cakes, candies, and ice cream. Here's the part that actually gets durian banned in places: the smell. It's strong enough that durian is prohibited on public transit and inside plenty of hotels across the region, and the smell doesn't fade quickly either. A single fruit can fill a whole room in minutes. Compared to what's coming next, though, durian is practically ordinary. Osage orange. Hedge apple. Picture a lime green softball with a surface like a brain, wrinkled and bumpy in a way that looks manufactured instead of grown. That's Osage orange, and unlike everything else on this list, it's not really eaten by anyone. Not people, and as far as anyone can tell, not much of anything else either. It grows across a narrow stretch of the central U.S., where indigenous communities used the wood long before anyone paid attention to the fruit itself. The wood was prized for making bows, strong and flexible in a way few other trees could match. The fruit, meanwhile, just sat there doing nothing useful, at least by any obvious measure. And that's the real mystery. Every fruit up to this point had some animal in mind, something that eats it, spreads the seeds, keeps the whole cycle going. Osage orange doesn't seem to have one. The leading theory is that it evolved to be eaten by giant ground sloths, animals the size of a small car that went extinct around 10,000 years ago. Take away the sloth, and you're left with a fruit built for a mouth that doesn't exist anymore. These days, people mostly just toss them in basements and garages, on the belief that they keep spiders away. There's no solid proof that actually works. It's just something people keep doing anyway, generation after generation, for a fruit that might still be waiting on an animal that isn't coming back. 8 fruits. And every one of them looks like nature made a mistake somewhere along the way. None of them did. They're all real, all growing right now, all eaten by someone, somewhere, without a second thought. Which one caught you off guard? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious which one actually surprised people most. There's another Every Explained video coming, so keep an eye out.